you're never going to get 100% what you're looking for and knowing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be way more clear on what I actually want and standing on business, like you said, if I'm not getting what I actually want. And to my point that I made earlier, I also know that I am looking to give somebody what they want.
Let's go, let's go, let's grow, let's grow, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it, let's go, let's go, let's grow, let's grow, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it, let's go, let's go.
Going on, we are Black Dad Unfiltered, coming back to you again with another episode. I am Carlos Spencer, and I'm here with my guy.
It's your boy, Coach Rod. You got the tag team back in the house, Los. What's going on?
Man, it's like it's been a minute, man, since I seen your beautiful face, man.
You busy traveling the world, speaking and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad though.
No, man. Don't put that on me. Don't put it on me. I think, well, it's been, I think actually, I think it has been some good stuff. Definitely a lot of good things going on in my life, yours as well. Fatherhood, right? Being a Black dad, children,
Yes, sir.
doing things with our children. I have children in college now. I have other two come up the rear playing all types of sports. And so I'm doing that again, right? I've done that with my older children. Now I'm going through that again, which my oldest son is even coaching my youngest son now. And I got a chance to see
That's what's up.
that live and in person. Yeah, man. So dope and so surreal to have that experience. But yeah, life has been good. Man, how about you, man? What's been going on with you since last time the dynamic duo's been up in here?
Listen, man, life is good, man. Life is good. Kids are growing up. Kids are getting bigger. We're getting ready to talk about what we do different in second marriage, and the kids are asking more questions and things of that nature. So it just coincides with my kids maturing and what we're about to talk about. So let's do what we do, Los.
Since you were already jumping into it, and now see, just like we do in our episodes, I'm intrigued because when you just said that your children are asking questions, I'm like, what kind of questions are they asking?
You ain't gonna
You know what I'm saying?
today,
One, what'd you say?
You ain't gonna find out today, but go ahead.
he gonna give us the teaser like that. But that's good though, man. Into this topic of which is a good. What would you do differently, or how would you even approach a second marriage?
Yes.
And that's a topic that I hear a lot about. I don't know about you. Of course, I've been divorced, yourself as well. I think we're more open to seeing it, and is probably because we experienced it. And I think both of us are looking to get into relationships again. And so now I think there are so many other people who are probably, especially Black fathers, who are either looking for information like this or who have experienced this. Yeah. And like we've always said, man, we want you to be on the fly on the wall and be able to sit back and hear our conversation in hopes that we say something and share something with you that can be helpful.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, right? The fly on the wall. So one of the reasons why I want to talk about this was obviously having been divorced, you have time to reflect. People don't realize when you get divorced, it's not always roses on the other side. I don't want to say that in a way like, oh, you regret getting divorced, but just understand there's some realities to this life, right? And I personally don't believe you should be alone for the rest of your life, right? That's just not my take on it. So what would you do different? What do you look at different? How would you respond differently? These are the conversations we just never have. And if you're mature enough, what do you got to improve in yourself, right? And then what are your non-negotiables? So I'll start off with you, Lo, since you're traveling all over the world. People follow your Instagram. What's your Instagram again? Carlos V. Spencer Speaks. Is that the Instagram?
It's just Carlos V. Spencer. You put the V inside of your, any social media. Yeah.
So the funny part is, it's Carlos V. Spencer. He's a speaker, but he's shirtless half the time. So I'm just assuming. No. Listen,
I almost went with a cutoff today, but I didn't because I knew you go there. I almost did. I was like, I'm not doing it today. I'm not doing it.
But I knew where your heart was. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem right now. But I'm asking you because, again, I think your situation is slightly different than my situation because, again, you do have younger children than I do to some extent, and you have older children, and you're trying to, establish a new norm, right? Balancing ministry, balancing speaking, balancing your businesses. And in that, how does someone fit in? So let me ask you, what's the biggest thing, if you had to reflect, that you would do different entering a second marriage or another serious relationship?
Man, you know what? Even going into that answer, I always say this is for me. It's just my opinion. It doesn't have to be everybody else's fact. I don't believe that divorce is the answer. I do not. Although it was the decision that I had to make for my situation. I've gone and talked to couples. I've gone and counseled couples. I've gone to marriage sessions, and they brought me in to speak about it. And I usually lead off with that is not the answer. Because of what you just said, there's so many different pieces and difficulties that come with it. But with saying that, I would go into it with that mind that when I go into it, it's going to be the last relationship that I'm going to have. And so what I would do differently is I look to marry somebody for where I'm going and not for where So again, I'm looking to marry somebody that I can see who's going where I'm going and not just marry for right where I am. And I was young when I got married the first time. And so that's all I knew, right? I didn't know to even look to that extent. I didn't know to be looking for a relationship with somebody who was going to grow with me and to see where I'm going and where they're going. And no, again, we can't be 100% on this, but at least to the best of our abilities, I want to say this person that I'm picking, that I'm choosing, is going to be the person that I believe is able to go where I am going. And so for my second marriage, I am going to be really hard pressed to pay attention to that, to see how do we fit 20 and 30 years. And to your point, again, that you even made another point you made of wanting to be in another relationship, to be with somebody, having a desire to be in a relationship with somebody. That desire for me is wanting to be with somebody I can grow old with, right? I'm looking to see, and I don't know if I did that again when I was younger, when I got married. I'm looking to see, will I be able to grow old with this person? Do I enjoy this person outside of everything else? Do I just like them, right? Do I just like them? There's no filter here, right?
I don't own one. Go ahead.
We don't own one. Outside of sex and intimacy, do I like this person? Because you and I both know in a relationship, the sex and intimacy is not going to be the biggest part of the relationship. It's just not, especially the older that you get.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing, do I just like spending time with this person? Because if I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you, spending time with you is going to be the biggest part of the relationship. So those are a few things for me that I'm just really paying attention to in my mate, man. And how about yourself, man? I don't know if something there you want to poke at, or if you want to jump in.
I do have a follow-up because you said you're going to be hard pressed to look for. But how do you do that without making the other person feel like they're being investigated, examined, always being tested? How would you see that playing out, right? Because you're looking for certain things. There's an intentionality, but I'm assuming your partner now feels like, wait a minute, I'm under a microscope and I have to pass your exams to be with you. Who the heck are you?
And that's good. And so for me, what I'm very big on is I'm not asking somebody else to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So the same things that I'm looking for, that person is probably going to feel the way that you're talking about. Like, just let's be honest.
Yeah.
But I always, even in my dating life and in relationships, I have said to the other person, and I've seen that show up in conversation and some friction, which I think is good when you're getting to know somebody and having conversations. I've said to them, I am not asking you to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. And so I'm not going to go too far left into this, but when I watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, I'm a Michael Jordan fan. But when I watched it on Netflix, one of the biggest things that stood out to me was other players who played with him. They said that Michael Jordan was always willing to do everything that he asked us to do. He did not ask something of us. He did not ask us to work harder than he was willing. He held a standard. So he wasn't letting anybody else beneath that standard. That's what relationship is going to look like for me in the context of these conversations. if somebody gives any type of pushback, I'm like, hey, I will do it for you. And if you want to poke and push and ask and see where I'm going to be in the future, I welcome it. I have to if I'm going to be mature because I'm looking for it myself. And I'm not gonna take a step back on it. I'm just not. If it's too much for the person, then they're probably not the person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with.
So let me tell you what I heard. You legally changed your name to Air Carlos, and you're the greatest boyfriend ever to walk this planet. 6-time boyfriend champion, right? This dude said, like, I watched the Last Dance, and I saw me and Jordan shared a lot in common. Nah, you know what I mean? Nah, I hear you. So, and if I'm being honest, because I know what you said about divorce is not the answer, and we're both, spiritual men, and we try to just, talk candidly. But, one of the things I always say is God has no system to support divorce. It was never his intention, right? So this is what I mean by when you do get divorced, there are some casualties that come with this. There are issues that will feel heavy and insurmountable. I don't know if I am at a place where if I start bumping against this wall and it starts reminding me of things that I'm just going to be like, hey, you know what? This may not be it for me. Right? Because you know what the devastation of the outcome can be if you take this too far. But I also know you got to build it. So how do I say this? It's that hard part where you got to find someone and you still have to try and build with them. And that's a heavy investment, even before you get married, because you got to build some type of communication bridge. You have to build some type of boundary bridge. You have to build a understanding bridge. And then when you get there, you still may say, yeah, you know what? This is probably the end of our destination before we go into this land called marriage. I wrestle with that piece conceptually. Is that making sense to you?
Mm-hmm. I got you.
Right. Yeah. So that's the part I was thinking about. But if you were to ask me, what would I do different? This is a hard one. And I don't know if everyone's going to understand what I'm saying, but it's not for everyone. It's for the one who may understand it. It's one, I would probably, as I said before, allow myself to be vulnerable, because that's like one of my tests, right? I can't be afraid of you trying to hurt me, right? But if you do hurt me, I have to understand what's the cause of this hurt. You get what I'm saying? Because I think I go in, I didn't get married as young as you did, but I got, was I married before you? Holy shit, I think I was. No, you got married before me. Yes. Right. Yeah. But I lost my train of thought when I started reflecting. Dang, age is catching up, right? No, but going back to what I was saying, I went in and, for my athlete, all this other jazz, you got this, you're a tough guy to whatever that means.
So you don't believe you're vulnerable in your first relationship?
I think I put up the walls too soon.
Okay.
Right? When I started bumping against the same wall over and over and over, I just said, all right, forget it. You know what I mean? And you don't realize you still got to go through that wall. You got to get on the other side of that wall. On the other side of that wall is your destination. You know what I mean? So now understanding that, I'm like, all right, let me get on the other side of that wall. So now it's, to your point, you almost have to be okay with the tension, the conflict, right? Because then you got to develop your conflict resolution skills. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm going to ask you a question, though. Were you finished with that thought? That part of it?
No, go ahead. No, this is what we do. Go.
So, yeah, my question is, that's not an easy thing, like, bro, like to be vulnerable for men, and let's talk about Black men in particular. That's not something, especially people before us, especially Black men. I'll even go and you push back if you want. No, not if you want. You push back if I'm wrong. Haitian culture and what you've seen in your own father.
Yeah.
And then the men who came before you, I don't believe were vulnerable. So I don't believe it were.
So let's go here. I'm going to stop you right there, because I think there's a fine line, right? There's a fine line between being vulnerable and being a sucker. There's a fine line between being vulnerable and being a simp. There's a fine line between being vulnerable and being desperate, right? There's a fine line between being vulnerable and being thirsty. You get what I'm saying? Like, I can meet you today, doesn't mean you get the keys to my house. You follow what I'm saying? But I can meet you today and say, hey, when do we go inside to grab a drink of water, right? In and out. What am I going with this? It's I'm not walking out of here saying, oh, hear my cry.
Mhm.
I'm going in here saying, once I made a decision that I want to see where this goes, I have to allow layers of myself to be peeled back. That's what I mean by vulnerability, right? I have to say, okay, you know what? Perfect example. I'm gonna give you a different example, and I do this often. Like I never finish a sentence. I had one of my homegirls. I don't know if I shared this story before. I went to I had surgery. I've had multiple surgeries, and I had hit her up, like just sent a picture of like whatever. I'm at the hospital. This is not the one I'm dating. This was just a friend. I sent it to a few friends. Homegirl came back, was irate, started yelling at me. Let me not say yelling. She started, my definition of yelling, she was actually talking loud and passionately. But the way I'm wired is like, I actually in my head was like, who the heck do you think you, and I'm about to lose it on a friend. And at that moment, I have to dial back and say, this is your friend. This is someone who cares about you. Actually listen to what they're saying. That's what I mean. Allowing, fighting some of your instinct, fighting some of the things that you've been conditioned to do to guard yourself and expose yourself to hearing something or feeling something in a different shape, form, or fashion. And I think that's how I look at vulnerability a little bit. And I'm not talking in the mental health space. I'm just talking in the
Yeah,
relationship space.
I want to push it a little bit more because I think
Yeah.
to your point, the one that you want to help, I think there's a good amount of ones that you're helping right here. And I like even the conversation that you're having. I like what you're saying. And I like the honesty of what you're saying, that you weren't as vulnerable in the first relationship. And I think you closed those walls up kind of fast.
I closed them. I was vulnerable and I closed them up too fast.
Okay.
Right. It was the responding too fast. Yeah. Go ahead.
Gotcha. So in the next relationship,
Sure.
like kind of what would vulnerability look like for you in that relationship? Because I do think that from what I've seen in my own experience, I don't see a lot of men who are as vulnerable with their woman. And I don't see a lot of women who understand the importance of that space for a man to be vulnerable, because I think a lot of men are not vulnerable in any other place or many other places at all. And so it's in the sense of you got to have a space to lay your armor down somewhere. And some men got to come home and still keep their armor on. And I just think that that's a tough space. So like, what does that look like for somebody who's hearing this, a man who's hearing this and saying, I want that in my next relationship too? What are some things that you think you're going to be doing that
Sure.
they could possibly take on themselves as some tools?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is you have to define what vulnerability means to you.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it's when something doesn't feel good, acknowledge that it doesn't feel good, but still press forward. Right. So one of the things that can happen, and this actually is a true story. Well, actually, I won't tell the true story part of it, right? Anyway, so what can happen is this. I tell you something, right? You internalize it however you internalize it, because the way we hear is through our past experiences. And then you come at me with something completely different, right? Right then and there, I have a choice. I have a choice to get angry. I have a choice to prove a point. Or I have a choice to sit and understand what is the genesis of this. Why is this happening in this person? Why are they treating me like this, or responding to me, not treating me, responding to me like this? To me, that's the vulnerability piece. It's actually like kind of stepping back, and not being overwhelmed by your emotions. Contrary, not being overwhelmed by it, stepping back a little bit and saying, is there something in here that I am at fault with? So I also believe vulnerability has some level of accountability, right? And then the vulnerable part for me is saying, okay, I'm going to voice my thought on this, regardless of the reaction I'm going to get from you. That's the most vulnerable piece to me, right? Because I believe we try to control the reaction. So we ask questions to get the reaction we want. We set up scenarios to get the reaction we want or to prove the point we want. I'm going to say what I need to say regardless of what's coming out of the other side of this conversation, because this is for me, right? That's the vulnerable piece for me. You know what I mean? It's no longer about what you feel when I say this. It's I
Mm-hmm.
have to, right? And I have to figure out that this is the healthiest thing for me to do. Because if I hold it, I think you said on a previous episode, that TD Jake said men
Mm-hmm.
will either implode or explode,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I hope I answered your
I
question.
love that. You did, man. You answered the question. You said a lot of bars in there. If this was a mixtape, I would have rewind that thing a couple times to listen to them again. One thing I love, it brought up a thought for me, is that the quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions that you ask yourself.
Yeah.
Right? People don't ask themselves those questions. Black men don't ask themselves the question, why do I feel like this?
Sure.
When I say this, or when she responds this way, why is it making me feel that way? And then you get a chance to answer those questions, because sometimes it's not even about the other person. It's about you. And I think we never get to the space of being vulnerable with somebody else because we don't ask ourselves that question. One of the bars you dropped, how somebody says something in the verse, you're like, I don't think people caught that. You said that we ask people questions because we want to control the answer. So we ask them certain questions because we know they're going to give us this type of answer or this type of reaction.
Yeah.
My God, today. That's heavy, man.
But
That's
true,
heavy.
though. It's true, though.
It is true. It is true. And so I think a part of you being vulnerable, and what I'm taking away from it just for my own self, is that I need to be vulnerable enough to also ask my person questions when I don't know what the answer is going to be. And I'm not trying to just control the answer to get the outcome that I want, but I'm asking the question because I want the situation to be better, not because I just want to win.
And that's the part that I say requires the vulnerability.
Gotcha.
Right, because I think you dropped in one of your 10-minute clips that we post on our YouTube page. It's our brains are not wired for us to be successful. We have to rewire. It's wired to defend ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So instinctually, being vulnerable goes against human nature of self-preservation. Right, that's why I sit there and say, like, when men or women hear us talk about vulnerability, it's not about necessarily all the time, hear me cry or let me rest my head, right? It's okay, you know what? We're going to have to deal with this, and it ain't going to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But, again, that's the whole controlling the narrative, and that's the one thing I would do different. I would look for it, too. I would look for someone that's always trying to control the narrative. And when I say narrative, it's not the outcome. I know you want to say something. It's not the outcome per se. It's, again, you're trying to ask me questions not for revelation, right? But for manipulation. And so I'm looking for that. Oh, that was a bar.
Yeah, I can hear that, man. Yeah. That was another bar right there.
What's going on? I know you wanted to say something. Drop it on me.
We're writing the mixtape. I'm gonna drop this. We ain't even got time to go down this road, but I'm gonna do it anyway because,
it's your show.
It's our show. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna make people think.
Yeah, what's up?
And we probably have had this conversation somewhat offline before. Vulnerability in men. We're both believers. Samson and Delilah is what comes to my mind.
Okay.
And I'll rush the story a little bit, just for the sake of our time. But Samson told Delilah his truth, right? And she went and took that information to somebody else. And so let's say this isn't the way the story goes, but just to help us understand our listeners. Let's say I told somebody, hey, if you tap my left elbow 3 times and then touch me in the back of my neck, that's my weakness. I can't fight no more.
Sure.
And nobody knows that. And then all of a sudden, after I tell this woman that, tomorrow, somebody taps my elbow 3 times and hit me in the back of the neck. It's not a coincidence who told this person. So in a sense, that's what happened to Samson. He told her this. She went and let somebody else know. They came and tried to use that against him.
Matter of fact, she told his opposition.
She told his ops.
His enemies. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, his enemies. And he like, yo, they tried to. Now let's see the power of vulnerability. I think a lot of women miss this. I'm going to say it. If I hit you, I ain't trying to miss you. She comes back and say, you lied to me. You didn't tell me the truth
Yeah,
of what your weakness really is.
yeah,
He then tells her the truth, Rod, knowing that she's going to take this information straight to his ops to be used against him. But he was vulnerable
he was stupid.
because you say he was stupid.
He was stupid.
Watch this though.
Okay.
We missed the power on the other side of that stupidity. I give
Yeah.
you that.
Okay.
But look at the power of the woman who gave a vulnerable space, which that vulnerable space was so powerful. This man knew it was going to be used against him,
Yeah.
but he still gave up the information anyway. That's the power that women have that I think they miss. Now, I would like for women to use it in the right way. But in that story, you got to find the power of that. And you also got to see that men really need a space to be vulnerable.
So I'll
And
tell
they're
you
looking
this.
for it most times from their woman.
I liked what you framed and how you framed it, right? Should he have been with her in the first place? See,
Now,
as
and
much-
that goes to the topic.
no, but I'm saying this is what
That
I'm
goes-
bringing it back here, man.
Come on. I like what
you
you're
know I mean?
doing.
Because you saying women have the power to use our vulnerability to destroy us, and I'm saying men give that power to the woman. So this is why I said, what would
Yep.
you do different? You get what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
if you know the story, those two bloodlines should never mix. That ain't part of your crew.
Yep.
Everybody knew that wasn't part of your crew, but you were chasing the hoo-ha. You get what I'm saying? I'm gonna just keep it real with you. You kept it biblical, I'm gonna keep it street. And then all of a sudden, you falling for the wrong one.
But he
Right?
wasn't just chasing the woo-ha. He was chasing the vulnerability and the peace of that lap. That's what he was chasing.
So now we talking about the lap. This is where sometimes men we get confused. I'm not gonna say men because I'm a man. I got 3 kids. Right? We get confused between lap and peace. And I'm gonna let you sit on what I mean by lap and peace. We could get confused with intimacy and peace.
Yeah.
You should have never been on that woman lap, is what I'm trying to tell you. But to your point, it does not negate what you were saying in the fact that there is a lot of power that a woman has over man. This is so to say it differently. This is why a lot of men, and I love to see a lot of the brothers are saying this on social media, a woman who submits is actually the one that's in control.
Oh, 100%.
You get what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying, but I'm also gonna go back to like, okay, how do we get this right the second time? And
so
there's
there's
no right answer, right?
There isn't, but I think this ties right into where you was bringing it back to. I think what he was looking for wasn't wrong. I think he was looking for it in the wrong place. To the point of what we're talking about, I think he needs to be looking for it in his next relationship. He should have been looking for what he was looking for, but looking for it with the right person.
And now that's what we say. How do we know you got that right person, right?
Yeah.
And this is why I sit there and say you got to build the bridge. And unfortunately, you build bridges, with steel, sometimes, with steel and iron. But now you actually build bridges in relationships with bits of vulnerability. So if you ask me what my weakness is, you get what I'm saying? I'm not going to tell you my weakness. It just is what it is. But I will tell you drops of this is what I feel, because I still got to test it. I'm just going to be real. I still got to test it. I got to see how you respond to my vulnerability. But in order for me to see how you respond, I still have to be vulnerable and be okay with what the outcome of that is. You get what I'm saying? Like if I tell you, man, damn, man, work was hard today. And you tell me, man, stop being a whatever.
Yep.
All right, cool. I appreciate that. And I will do what Casper does and ghost you. Right? It just is like that's why I sit there and say, I realize the only way I'm going to get to where I need to be. But let's bring it back just from the, let's take it down to 30,000. Let's take it up to 30,000 feet, because we went into like as if we're in the relationship.
Right.
So again, but I guess that's the topic we're on. What would I do different, right? Again, I mentioned about I would really focus on my communication skills without a shadow of a doubt. There's something that I learned later on. I would focus on the balance between the outside and the inside.
Yeah.
What I mean by that, there was a woman, I just love it. And, Instagram is not 100% accurate, but when I heard this woman speak, it really hit me. She says, I want you to lie to me. I said, wait a minute. Why you want your man to lie to you? She said, nah, lie to me. When you go to that job and you can't stand that man, you tell him yes and you're happy. Come home and do the same to me. And I'm paraphrasing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because she's like, if you can show the outside world the better version of you, don't come home and show me the worst version of you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that rewired me and say, wait a minute. I have to come back here. Doesn't mean the world is not harsh, but I got to come back here and realize this is where the best version of me has to be.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I'll probably do different. And then,
man.
and stand on business. That's my third one. And that sounds real weird, but that's why I said it's okay if we don't end up together. Like the whole, not to get spiritual, but every day this just has more and more meaning. When they say let go, let God. And at first, you know what I mean? I was actually letting go of groceries and losing groceries. I was like, God, I let it go. What we doing? I joke. But I started realizing it manifests itself in so many ways. Yo, let it go. Yeah, she fine, she bad, whatever. Let it go. Right? It ain't for me. Right? That whole concept of, again, trying to control an outcome, trying to make us work. Go ahead.
I think to that exact point, standing on business, for me, I'd be way more clear on what I actually want. And that's the standing on business for me.
Yeah.
Specifically, is being way more clear. And like we've said numerous times in this episode, that doesn't mean I'm going to know exactly. That doesn't mean it's going to be 100% right, which I also even understand that you're only going to get 80% out of your person anyway. You're never going to get 100% what you're looking for, and knowing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be way more clear on what I actually want. And standing on business, like you said, if I'm not getting what I actually want, and to my point that I made earlier, I also know that I am looking to give somebody what they want. So I believe it's a fair exchange. I believe what I'm asking for is fair, because I'm not asking for something and I'm not willing to give it to you. But since I am willing to give it to you, hence standing on business, then I got to be with somebody who's willing to give it to me.
There's got to be a fair exchange, right?
Got to be.
So I'm going to tweak your formula a little bit, and I'm making this up on the spot because I've heard you say you only going to get 80% of what you want from your partner anyway, right? And I say, well, it's only you're probably going to get 100% of what you need, right? So if we distill that formula, within that 80%, there's 100% of what you actually need to become the best version of yourself. You get what I'm saying? Some of the wants is just your wants. What you need is something completely different, right? But again, when we going back on it and that standing on business, I love what you said, is one, don't compromise on who you are. Be your 100% authentic self. Let them see the worst version of you. That's what I would do. And that worst version can still be great, but let them see all of you. I'll let you see all of me. I'll let you see the jokes that are not appropriate. It just is what it is, right? I'll let you see what I look like when I get angry, right? I gotta let you see it, because I had an episode. We did an episode with Dr. Johnny Parker, right? And people fall in love with who we show them.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying. And what I would do different is just show you who I am, the 100% me. Because then if you fall in love with that person, I can be consistent.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying. This is why we say when you skirt around certain arguments or whatever, they're not seeing who you really are, right? And then then all of a sudden you change. And I say, these are things that I hear. The last thing I would do different is, I know we got to wrap this episode up, is we talked about the communication. We talked about really standing on what we know we need to, for ourselves. We talked about discernment, right? Really understanding who's this person in front of me and why are they in front of me, right? Is it just physical with, I want to be on their lap. The next thing is that I would really, really want is do different is I would actually invest, funny enough, and we don't have time to expand on this, into couples therapy. If I decide I want to be with you long term, meaning we're not waiting for marriage. We're going in beforehand, because I got to decide if make the investment. And that's probably the fifth thing, is I have to decide, are you worth the investment? So this is what, leading into a second marriage, but in the second marriage is the therapy, and the other things. This was a topic that wasn't meant for 30 minutes, but it is what it is.
I know.
If people want to hear more, when they see it, drop in the chat.
You
We'll come back
gotta
with
drop
part
it.
2.
Yeah. I gotta say on that point though, I've already told, like, in relationships I'm dating or been in, I'm like, we gotta go to therapy, and not because something's wrong. We got to go to get some tools, and then we got to go to keep finding out the different layers of each other before we get to marriage, before there's a problem that shows up per se.
That's the deepest part. That's probably if anybody walks away with, we have to find the deeper layers of each other. When we say we, let's expand on that. I have to find the deeper layers of myself.
Right.
You have to find the deeper layers of yourself. We have to communicate those layers to each other. We have to understand how to manage each other's layers. So not only do I have to manage my layers because I'm not even aware of it, and now that I'm aware of it, ignorance is bliss. So now that I'm aware of it, I got to figure out how to handle it. But while I'm trying to figure out how to handle it, you got to deal with it. So now I got to figure out how to communicate with you. So it becomes this really complex physics equation when you break it down. And that's why it's so important. You dropped a good one, Los.
Man, not just me, man. You dropped some bars. I got to rewind the mixtape and go watch this thing.
Just me.
Back right here, man. Look, man.
Yeah. All right, take us out, bro.
Yo, man, to your point, man, like, subscribe, share, drop in the comments, message us, myself and Coach Rod. Is us responding back to you. Like Coach Rod just said, if you want to hear something else that maybe you wanted us to go a little bit further on, hit us up, man. This definitely was a conversation that was layered intentionally, but one that we aren't hearing in all these spaces. At Black Dad Unfiltered. Follow us all social media at Black Dad Unfiltered, and on any type of Spotify, iTunes, any type.
Yes, sir.
What's any of the platforms you're looking for listening or watching, we're there, man. Love it, man, and love this episode with you, man. I'm Carlos V. Spencer.
And I'm your boy, Coach Rod. And once again, let's go, let's grow, let's get it. Yes, sir. Let's go, let's grow, let's grow, let's get it, let's get it, let's